The Galactic auction was the most famous place in the Outer Rim. Traders, pirates, smugglers, and adventurers from all over the galaxy gathered here. Shiny starships with polished armor and sleek designs floated in the auction hall, and the crowd buzzed with excitement. Prices were high and competition was fierce. Everyone wanted the best ships, the fastest ships, the most dangerous ships. But in one corner of the massive hall, away from the crowd and flashing lights, sat a ship no one cared about. Its hull was scratched, dented, and rusty. Parts of it seemed patched up with whatever metal the previous owners had. The engines made a low, wheezing sound, as if the ship were tired of living. Its paint was faded, and the symbol of its old owner was barely visible. Nobody looked at it twice. Most bidders laughed when they saw it, but Jaren didn't laugh. He didn't even hesitate. Humans were famous across the galaxy for their odd ways of thinking. While others chased perfection, Jaren saw something different. He saw potential. There was something hidden in that old ship, something that could not be bought or seen by others. And humans, he believed, were the only ones who could unlock it. Jaren was not rich. He wasn't even close. Unlike most bidders here who had millions of credits ready to spend on a single ship, Jaren had just 10 credits. 10. And yet, that was enough to buy this forgotten ship, this junk that nobody wanted. He stepped closer and ran his hand along the cold metal. The ship felt heavier than it looked. Every dent and scratch told a story. Maybe it had fought battles long ago. Maybe it had survived dangers that no one could remember. Jaren didn't care about its history, he cared about its future. A holographic announcer floated above the crowd, projecting in glowing letters. Next item for auction, Cruiser Class Axe 79. Condition, obsolete, heavily used, low demand. The crowd chuckled. Even the aliens in attendance with their many eyes and sharp teeth murmured, "Why would anyone buy that?" Jaren raised his hand. 10 credits. A small number in a hall of millions, but it was all he had. The auctioneer hesitated, almost ignoring him. The crowd snickered at the human who dared to bid on a worthless ship. "Sold," the announcer's voice echoed. To the human bidder, 10 credits. A wave of laughter swept the hall. "You got what? 10 credits for that piece of scrap," a tall, three-armed alien shouted. Jaren didn't answer, he just smiled. To him, this was only the beginning. The ship waited silently as Jaren approached. The airlock hissed open and he stepped inside. The interior was dimly lit, dusty, and smelled of old metal and oil. Panels flickered and wires hung loose like vines in a jungle. The seats were torn and the dashboard looked ancient. But Jaren's eyes gleamed. He had worked on starships for most of his life. He knew the difference between a ship that was truly useless and a ship that only looked useless. Every bolt, every wire, every panel was a puzzle, and he loved puzzles. "Let's see what you can do," he whispered to the ship, more to himself than anything. He started checking the engine room. The core was old but intact. Some systems were damaged, but the ship wasn't dead. Not yet. He traced wires, tightened bolts, cleaned rusted circuits, and replaced some fuses with parts he had in his backpack. The work was slow, precise, and methodical. Hours passed, but he didn't feel tired. He felt alive. As he worked, he noticed something strange. A small, blinking light in the middle of the control panel. It was a distress signal, faint and intermittent. No one else had noticed it. The other bidders had laughed and walked away, leaving this secret for Jaren alone. His heart raced. Who could be sending a signal from a ship like this? And why hadn't anyone else seen it? He activated the ship's communication console. The signal was old but readable. It contained coordinates that pointed to a part of the galaxy Jaren had never visited. There was also a single word attached. "Help," he frowned. The message was simple but chilling. The ship itself seemed to be asking him for something. Not a crew, not a mission, not money, something more. And Jaren, being human, was curious. Humans were curious by nature. It had kept them alive on worlds where other species had failed. Night fell outside the auction hall. Most visitors had gone, leaving only a few security drones and cleaning crews. Jaren stayed aboard, tinkering and exploring. He found hidden compartments with old star maps, ancient tools, and a storage locker containing what looked like an old weapon system, deactivated, rusted, and forgotten. He cleaned it, repaired minor circuits, and ran diagnostics. The system hummed to life. It wasn't powerful by modern standards, but it was functional. More importantly, it responded to him. The ship was reacting, as if it recognized its new owner. Jaren felt a thrill run down his spine. He had always known humans were different. While others relied on money, status, or overwhelming firepower, humans relied on imagination, skill, and courage. A ship that looked worthless in the eyes of others was, in Jaren's eyes, a treasure waiting to be awakened. He spent hours mapping the ship systems, understanding every circuit, every engine line, and every defensive mechanism. There was intelligence here, he realized. Not artificial, not programmed, but aware. The ship seemed to learn as he worked. By the time dawn broke, the auction hall was empty. Sunlight filtered through the high windows, glinting off the ship's battered armor. Jaren stood in the cockpit, covered in grease and dust, smiling. 10 credits. A bargain. And yet the value of this ship was already becoming clear. He couldn't explain why, not yet. Maybe it was instinct, or maybe it was human intuition. But he knew one thing: this ship was special. And the galaxy had no idea what it had just let slip through its fingers. Jaren activated the ship's main engine for the first time. It sputtered, coughed, and shuddered, then roared to life. The sound was deep and powerful, vibrating through the metal like the heartbeat of a living creature. Lights on the dashboard blinked in rhythm with the engine. The distress signal continued, now steady and insistent. "All right," Jaren whispered, gripping the controls. "Let's find out what you want." The coordinates from the distress signal glowed on the navigation screen, a distant system in the uncharted sectors of the galaxy. Dangerous, unknown, and likely abandoned. The perfect place for a human and a forgotten ship to make their first mark. As he prepared to leave, a feeling of anticipation settled over him. He didn't know what he would find, but he knew it would be important. Humans had a way of turning ordinary chances into extraordinary victories. That was their strength. And this ship was about to prove it. The engines hummed, the lights blinked, and the ship seemed to lean forward, eager to leave the auction hall behind. For the first time in decades, the old vessel was alive again, not just as a machine, but as a partner in adventure. And so, Jaren and his $10 spaceship began their journey into the unknown, where no alien, pirate, or galactic official would dare to go. Where human courage, skill, and ingenuity would soon be tested. Where a bargain bought for a laugh would change the galaxy forever. The ship moved slowly at first, leaving the auction hall behind. Jaren kept a steady hand on the controls, watching the sensors and screens light up with information. The coordinates from the distress signal were far away, in an uncharted part of the galaxy. Most humans would have avoided it, too far, too dangerous. But Jaren didn't think like most humans. Danger didn't scare him, it excited him. The ship itself seemed alive. Every time Jaren pressed a button or adjusted a lever, the ship responded, almost as if it understood him. The screens flickered, systems came online one by one, and hidden compartments began unlocking automatically. He had never seen a ship do this. It wasn't just advanced technology. It was intelligent in some way. Jaren crouched in the engine room, examining the main reactor. The ship was armored heavily, layers of reinforced metal that even modern warships wouldn't have. But the armor wasn't just for defense. Hidden beneath it were circuits and cores that had been deactivated decades ago. Some of them were old weapon systems, some were navigation enhancers, and some were unknown, even to him. He touched one of the cores, and the ship responded with a low hum. A faint blue light glowed, traveling along the pipes and wires like electricity running through veins. Jaren's eyes widened. He realized the ship was awakening because of him. You're not just a ship," he whispered. "You're something else." As the ship moved through space, Jaren explored further. In the cargo hold, he found hidden compartments. Most were empty, but one contained a storage pod. Inside were old star maps, some so old that the stars themselves had moved since they were drawn. Others contained coordinates to abandoned systems and derelict outposts, places no one had visited in centuries. It was like the ship had kept secrets, waiting for someone capable to find them. Jaren grinned. Humans had a way of seeing value where others saw junk. He opened another compartment and discovered a weapons system, rusted and deactivated. Carefully he cleaned it, repaired the circuits, and powered it on. The system hummed to life, lights blinking along its surface. Not powerful by modern standards, but functional, and more importantly, it responded to him. Jaren could feel it learning, adapting, almost like it recognized him as its new captain. "This is going to be fun," he said quietly. Hours passed as he explored every corner of the ship. The more he worked, the more he realized how advanced it really was. Some systems were older than he had expected, but incredibly well designed. Others were completely alien, built with technology no one had used in centuries. Then he found something unusual, a small control panel hidden beneath the navigation desk. When he touched it, a holographic map of the galaxy appeared, with blinking points scattered across star systems. Some points were familiar: planets, outposts, space stations. Others were unmarked, in regions that had long been forgotten. And then he saw it, a set of red markers, glowing brighter than the others. They were ancient enemy bases, long abandoned after a war that most civilizations had forgotten. The distress signal from the ship had led him here. Someone or something wanted these bases to be found. Jaren's pulse quickened. The ship wasn't just old. It was a weapon of strategy, a map to lost power in the galaxy, and he held the key. Suddenly, the ship's sensors picked up movement. Small energy signatures appeared on the radar, fast-moving and cautious. Pirates. Jaren's heart skipped a beat. Outer Rim pirates were common, but these were bold, moving close to uncharted systems. They must have detected the ship somehow. He didn't panic. Humans were always underestimated, and humans were clever. Jaren remembered an old trick he had learned on a freighter years ago, the camouflage pulse. The system had been in the ship, hidden under decades of dust. He activated it and the ship shimmered, blending with the stars around it. On the radar, they vanished. The pirates scanned and scanned, but the ship was gone. Jaren leaned back in his chair, smiling. "You like humans, don't you?" he said to the ship. "We always find a way." The ship pulsed in response. It wasn't just technology, it was reacting, learning. It seemed to trust him, and Jaren felt a strange bond forming. As the ship moved deeper into uncharted space, Jaren continued to test its systems. He activated old defensive mechanisms, finding energy shields, automated turrets, and even a cloaking field. None of these were modern, but they worked, and they responded to his commands faster than any AI he had ever encountered. He realized something important. This ship was designed to survive, to fight, and to hide. It had been built during a time when wars were fought across entire star systems, and it had endured everything. And now, in the hands of a human, it could do more than just survive. A small alarm flashed. The distress signal was still active, now more urgent. Jaren checked the coordinates. They led to a system called Zithra, a dead zone in the galaxy. Long ago, it had been a battlefield. No one went there anymore, the space lanes were dangerous and the system was unstable. But Jaren didn't hesitate. Humans thrived in danger. Where others saw risk, they saw opportunity. The ship seemed to sense it, moving smoothly, engines humming with purpose. It was ready. And so was he. As they approached Zithra, Jaren noticed strange energy readings. Old war remnants, Perhaps automated defense systems still active, old drones, or energy traps left behind. The ship reacted immediately, shielding them and scanning for threats. Every system was interconnected, responding with precision he had never seen. "This is incredible," he whispered. "You're more than a ship, you're a guardian." Suddenly, a large asteroid field appeared ahead. Other pilots would have slowed, navigated carefully, or turned back. But Jaren and the ship moved as one. The ship's sensors mapped the paths through the asteroids, engines adjusting automatically, shields shifting to protect them from collisions. Every movement was perfect, like the ship had been waiting for a human to guide it. By the time they cleared the field, Jaren's excitement was hard to contain. He had expected a broken, useless ship. Instead, he had a sleeping giant, and the galaxy had no idea it existed. Hours later, the ship entered orbit around Zithra. The system was barren, with broken satellites, debris from long-forgotten battles, and a planet scarred by war. The distress signal was stronger here, coming from beneath the planet's surface. Jaren's sensors detected something unusual, a hidden installation, shielded by old energy barriers. "This is it," he said. "The ship brought me here for a reason. Let's see what it wants me to find." He prepared the ship for descent. The hull held firm, shields up, engines steady. As they landed near the installation, he felt a sense of awe. Most species would have ignored this place, left it to rot. But humans didn't ignore things. Humans explored, fixed, and conquered challenges that seemed impossible. Jaren stepped onto the dusty surface, carrying tools, scanners, and courage. The installation entrance was massive, sealed with old energy gates. He activated the ship's auxiliary systems, and with a few tweaks, the gates powered down. Slowly, he entered the dark corridors. Inside, the air was stale, but the system hummed faintly. Ancient consoles blinked, waiting for someone to activate them. The ship's sensors picked up more systems than Jaren could count. Defense drones, long inactive, were in standby mode. Weapon caches, energy cores, and star maps lined the walls. The ship had led him to a treasure trove of forgotten power, and humans were the only ones who could use it. Jaren stood in the middle of the chamber, looking at the blinking consoles, and smiled. This ship, ignored by the galaxy, had brought him to the heart of an ancient military system. Most species would have walked past it, thinking it useless. But humans never underestimated opportunity. The ship pulsed once, a low hum that felt like approval. Jaren knew they were partners now. The journey ahead would be dangerous, filled with enemies, challenges, and unknown systems. But with the ship and his ingenuity, he was ready for anything. And the galaxy had no idea a human had just begun awakening a forgotten giant. The Zithra system was quiet, too quiet. Most civilizations avoided it, leaving the planet and its ruined installations abandoned for centuries. But Jaren and his ship did not fear emptiness. Where others saw emptiness, humans saw opportunity. And the ship, the armored, seemingly worthless ship, had led him here for a reason. As Jaren stepped into the main control chamber of the installation, he realized the full extent of what he was facing. Ancient consoles blinked with light, dormant energy fields hummed faintly, and weapon systems once used in galaxy-wide wars waited silently. He could feel the weight of the past. Every panel, every turret, every energy core was a reminder of the wars that had shaped civilizations. Jaren wasn't intimidated. Humans never were. Humans learned from history, adapted, and innovated. And now he had the perfect combination of human cunning and the ship's hidden power. He returned to his ship, eager to test its full potential. The engines roared to life as he initiated system diagnostics. Turrets that had not fired in centuries extended smoothly. Shields pulsed with energy. Sensors calibrated themselves automatically, and the ship, as if understanding its purpose, leaned forward with anticipation. "This is going to be something," Jaren said, a grin spreading across his face. It didn't take long for the first challenge to appear. A group of scavenger pirates, notorious in the Outer Rim, had detected the ship's activity. They assumed a lone human with an old ship would be an easy target. Their fleet approached cautiously, small fighters, outdated but dangerous when operating in groups. Jaren didn't panic. He had seen this coming. Humans thrived under pressure, and this was the perfect test. He activated the ship's defensive systems. Energy shields glowed brightly around the hull, reflecting the scanners and lasers from the approaching fighters. Automated turrets powered up, tracking targets with precision. And the ship, responding to Jaren's commands almost instinctively, positioned itself strategically in orbit around Zithra. The first wave of pirate fighters fired. Lasers cut through space toward the ship. The shields absorbed most of the energy, and the turrets returned fire. One by one, pirate ships were disabled, their engines fried before they could get close. The remaining ships scattered, confused. How could a single human with a seemingly old ship defeat them so easily? Jaren smiled. Humans don't need the biggest weapons, he said quietly. We make what we have work better. As the battle continued, Jaren discovered more of the ship's hidden abilities. A cloaking field allowed them to disappear temporarily, reappearing behind enemy lines. Hidden missile launchers fired with pinpoint accuracy, targeting engines and weapon systems without wasting a single shot. The ship seemed to anticipate enemy movements, adjusting shields and weapons faster than any AI in the galaxy could manage. The pirates were in disbelief. "How is this possible?" one shouted. "It's just a human, that ship is junk." But Jaren didn't hear them. Humans never worried about what others thought. They acted, adapted, and overcame. The ship was more than a vessel, it was a partner, and together they were unstoppable. After the skirmish, Jaren landed on a nearby asteroid to assess damage, both his and the pirates. The ship was unharmed. Not a scratch. Every system functioned perfectly, almost as if the ship had expected the battle and prepared for it. The pirates, however, were left drifting in space, their ships crippled and their pride destroyed. Jaren grinned. "Humans don't fight fair," he muttered. "We fight smart." The news of the battle spread faster than Jaren expected. Across the Outer Rim, rumors began. A human had a ship that could outfight entire fleets. Many laughed at first, dismissing it as exaggeration. But reports kept coming, a ship ignored by the galaxy, piloted by a human, defeating professional pirates, and disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. The Galactic Council took notice. They had long underestimated humans, seeing them as minor players in galactic politics. But now, reports suggested something more. A human was turning a forgotten, armored ship into a force to be reckoned with. Jaren didn't care about fame. Fame didn't matter to humans. What mattered was action, ingenuity, and survival. And right now, he had a ship capable of rewriting the rules of power in the galaxy. Jaren continued exploring Zithra. The installation revealed more secrets. Hidden weapon caches, energy cores, and ancient star maps lined the walls. Some systems were damaged, but the ship had the intelligence to interact with them, bypassing security protocols and reactivating dormant systems. Jaren had expected to fix things manually, but the ship seemed to assist him, adjusting circuits, powering systems, and mapping routes automatically. "This ship," Jaren muttered. "It's learning from me, or maybe I'm learning from it." The relationship between human and ship grew stronger. Humans had a unique ability. They could adapt. And machines like this ship, built to last and survive, could respond. Together, they were a combination the galaxy had never seen before. Days passed, and the ship became even more formidable. Jaren learned to synchronize with it fully. Turrets and shields operated seamlessly with his commands. Engines responded instantly. Navigation was perfect even in dangerous asteroid fields and debris zones. The ship wasn't just alive, it was aware, anticipating threats and offering solutions before Jaren even considered them. Then the real test came. A patrol fleet from a neighboring star system, part of the Galactic Council, approached Zithra. They assumed they could easily take control of the supposedly abandoned system. The fleet was large, dozens of ships bristling with weapons. Jaren had no illusions. This would not be a small fight, but humans were never discouraged. Jaren activated all systems. The ship's armor shimmered with energy, weapons hummed, and defensive shields flared brightly. Then, with a precise burst of speed, the ship moved among the enemy fleet like a shadow, striking with accuracy. Missiles disabled engines. Energy beams shattered weapon systems. Shields deflected incoming attacks effortlessly. The Council fleet was stunned. How could a single ship, piloted by a human, outmaneuver and destroy multiple advanced vessels? Jaren laughed quietly. Humans don't just survive, he said. We adapt. We win. After the battle, the Council fleet retreated. Reports of the human and the armored ship spread across star systems. Aliens began to reconsider their assumptions about humans. They had always underestimated them, clever, stubborn, and underestimated. But now the galaxy had proof. Humans could turn anything, even a discarded, obsolete ship, into a weapon capable of toppling fleets. Jaren looked at the ship, standing on the surface of Zithra, battered but intact. The ship's systems hummed as if satisfied with their first real victory. It wasn't just a tool anymore. It was a partner, a guardian, a weapon that had waited for a human who could understand it. He realized something important. Humans didn't just rely on strength or numbers. They relied on creativity, courage, and cunning. And with those traits, even the smallest, weakest, or most ignored vessel could become legendary. The galaxy had been warned. Humans had arrived, and this was only the beginning. Jaren set his eyes on the horizon, distant star systems, lost installations, and forgotten treasures. The ship was ready. He was ready. And together they would prove that no matter how advanced or powerful other civilizations might think they were, humans always found a way. The galaxy was changing. Rumors of a human and an armored ship spread across star systems faster than any message drone could carry. At first, the news was dismissed. How could a single human, piloting an old, discarded ship, challenge the fleets of multiple star empires? How could they believe a human could turn a worthless vessel into a force capable of altering galactic power? But those who dismissed it soon learned that humans were not to be underestimated. Jaren sat in the cockpit, watching the sensors light up with activity. Pirates, patrols, and alien scouts were all approaching Zithra, drawn by curiosity, fear, or the hope of finding an easy prize. They were about to learn a very important lesson. Humans were clever, and they were relentless. The ship hummed under him, alive in a way no other machine had ever been. It had learned, adapted, and strengthened with every battle, every maneuver, every test. Jaren could feel it responding to his thoughts, predicting threats before they appeared. Together they were a single entity, human and machine, mind and armor, strategy and power. "Let us show them what humans can do," he whispered. The first wave arrived. A fleet of alien patrol ships, dozens in formation, heavily armed and confident. They assumed they could intimidate a single ship and a lone human. But as they approached Zithra, the ship moved with unmatched speed, dodging attacks and striking with precision. Energy beams disabled weapon systems, engines were fried, and shields reflected fire like a mirror. The aliens tried to regroup, but the ship anticipated every move. Automated turrets tracked multiple targets simultaneously. Missile systems struck with surgical accuracy, and cloaking systems allowed Jaren to vanish and reappear where least expected. Each attack, each counter, each maneuver told a story. Humans did not rely solely on strength or technology. They relied on adaptability, intelligence, and creativity, and the galaxy had never faced anything like it. Jaren wasn't just defending himself, he was sending a message. Every pirate, patrol, and alien scout that survived the encounter returned to their home systems shaken and fearful. Word spread of a human who had taken a forgotten ship and used it to dominate the Outer Rim. Even the Galactic Council, the governing body of hundreds of star systems, took notice. Their fleets had advanced AI, massive weapons, and years of military experience. But no one could match a human with ingenuity and a ship that refused to be ordinary. Jaren's next target was an abandoned command station in the neighboring system, once a hub for an ancient war. The station was fortified, shielded, and filled with automated defenses. Other civilizations would have avoided it, considering it too risky. But humans thrived on challenge. Where others saw obstacles, they saw opportunity. He maneuvered the ship carefully, scanning for traps and hidden weapons. When the station detected them, alarms blared. Automated turrets activated. Energy barriers flared. But Jaren had already anticipated this. The ship moved as if it had already solved the problem, dodging fire, disabling weapons, and breaching the station's outer defenses with minimal effort. Inside, he discovered something incredible: stores of energy cores, star maps, and ancient technology that had been lost for centuries. The station had been abandoned for decades, yet humans could unlock its secrets. Where others saw ruin, humans saw treasure. News of Jaren's exploits spread like wildfire. Across the galaxy, aliens and humans alike discussed the armored ship that had defeated entire fleets, navigated deadly systems, and claimed forgotten power. Most species had underestimated humans for centuries. They assumed humans were weak, reckless, and primitive, but humans had a habit of proving them wrong. Jaren didn't care about fame or fear. He cared about action. Humans had always thrived where others hesitated. They learned from challenges, adapted to dangers, and turned disadvantages into victories. Every ship he had repaired, every system he had activated, every enemy he had outsmarted proved one thing: humans were unstoppable when they refused to be ignored. Even the Galactic Council sent a fleet to investigate Zithra, believing they could control or capture Jaren and the ship. They arrived confident, with dozens of warships bristling with weapons. But confidence was the first mistake anyone made when dealing with humans. Jaren activated every system in the ship. Shields glowed brightly, energy pulses hummed through the hull, and weapon systems aligned perfectly. The ship moved with speed and precision no AI could match. Council ships fired, lasers cutting through space, but shields absorbed every hit. Turrets retaliated, disabling engines, cutting communication lines, and scattering the fleet. The Council fleet tried to regroup, to launch a coordinated attack. But Jaren was already 3 moves ahead. Cloaking systems, predictive targeting, and automated defenses combined with human strategy made the ship untouchable. One by one, ships were disabled or forced to retreat. The message was clear: humans were not to be underestimated. Jaren landed on the surface of a small moon near Zithra, surveying the aftermath. He could see the damaged ships, smoke trails, and signals of retreating fleets. But he didn't gloat. Humans didn't need to. The victory was already enough. The ship pulsed beside him, a low hum vibrating through its armored hull. It was more than a vessel now. It was a partner, a guardian, and a weapon that had been waiting for a human to awaken it. And humans, Jaren realized, had a unique gift: the ability to turn discarded, forgotten tools into legends. He thought back to the day he bought the ship for 10 credits at the auction. At the time, everyone laughed. A worthless ship for a human. What a joke! But now, the galaxy had seen the truth. 10 credits had bought a force capable of challenging fleets and rewriting power structures. Humans didn't need the most expensive tools. They made what they had into something legendary. Weeks passed, and Jaren continued exploring, repairing, and activating ancient systems across the Outer Rim. Every mission, every encounter, strengthened both him and the ship. Pirates learned to avoid his path. Alien fleets respected and sometimes feared his approach. And humans across the galaxy watched, inspired by stories of ingenuity, courage, and unstoppable determination. Even the Galactic Council began to change its perspective. Humans had always been underestimated. Now they were seen as a species that could take the impossible, the discarded, the ignored, and make it extraordinary. They weren't just survivors. They were innovators, strategists, and leaders. Jaren smiled at the thought. He hadn't sought power. He hadn't sought recognition. He had only followed instinct, curiosity, and human ingenuity. And that was enough. Humans had once again proven that even the smallest, weakest, or most overlooked could become unstoppable. Finally, Jaren looked at the stars from the cockpit of his armored ship. Systems waited to be explored. Lost technology waited to be awakened. Challenges waited to be faced. The galaxy was vast, full of danger and opportunity, but humans thrived in such places. They adapted. They survived. They won. And the ship, the vessel nobody had wanted, pulsed softly beside him, ready for the next adventure. Together, human and machine had rewritten the rules of the galaxy. Together, they were a force no one could ignore. For the galaxy, the message was clear. Humans didn't just exist. Humans conquered, adapted, and thrived. And they always found a way. Jaren smiled. The adventure was far from over. The galaxy was wide, full of secrets and challenges. But with his ingenuity, courage, and his awakened ship, humans were ready. And the galaxy would never underestimate them again.